How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the stream. We're a week away from the draft. That is so crazy. Pretty much spending this time just like catching up on a little like international film that I haven't watched enough, or like I've watched most of the guys at least somewhat internationally, and I've just been going around and kind of passing back through them. We've got Bogoljub Markovic. I don't know. I probably fucked up his first name, but Markovic on Mega. Who knows what they're called this day? They're not Mega Baymax anymore. But yeah, hopefully everyone's having a nice Wednesday. Just gonna break down some of this tape, talk ball, and get into it. Yeah, I like Markovic though quite a bit, at least from what I've seen. The few games I've seen of him, he seems to be quite interesting, and like a draft and stash type player that I like a good bit. Nice movement mid right there. He's a very nice shooter, good passer. How's it going, Federico? Just seems like a very solid, like offensive forward-ish bet. These mega jerseys are truly an abomination, man. Good rotation here. He's like a little, just like lacks a little bit of explosive juice and length. Like you can see he has the right idea going for that rotation. But yeah, what's up, Morgan? How's it going? Yeah, week away from the draft. How are you feeling? I'm hyped. As I will be doing my live draft show as I usually do for both days 1 and 2. Of course, we're gonna have lots of guests. There's gonna be fun stuff. We're gonna do fun stuff. It's gonna be a great time. But yeah, draft is almost here. That's crazy. I feel like this cycle has flown by. At least for me. It's like I'm like, damn. That's crazy. Yeah, I like Markovic. I think the only international guys who I haven't watched yet are Lachlan Olbrich, who I saw at Combine Scrimmage, and he was like all right. And Niang, I can't think of his first name. He's like a wing who plays in the Italian league. But I think everyone else I feel fine about. I recently watched a good amount of Behringer, and I warmed up to him. I'm a fan of Markovic. I like his game from the 3 or 4 games that I've watched and charted so far. Like really good offensive player. Not crazy about his defense by any means, but really love his jumper. Another movement attempt, quick swing right there. Good play. Just like combination of size, movement shooting, and some passing seems pretty interesting. But yeah, I've liked Markovic in the games that I've watched of him. Just seems like a really smooth processor, like reads the floor pretty quickly, is tall, can shoot off movement a little bit. Like seems like a guy who I'd like to bet on as like a long-term draft and stashy type. It's not a crazy like international class anyways this year, but he's probably one of my favorite international players this year, at least probably. Oh, I'm talking about as like a second round guy. To be clear, when I'm talking about Markovic, are people putting him in the lottery? I don't know about that. Yeah, no, I think I have him in like the early second round on my board. That's the range I'm imagining him in, but I certainly wouldn't take him in the lottery. Maybe I'm missing something for the people who feel that way, but just like seems way too limited physically and defensively to really get there. But he's talented. Like he's a good player. I am surprised. I would be surprised that people have him like in the lottery though. Definitely don't think of him like that. I also hate Mega Baymax because all of their players have the same haircut and look the same, and their jerseys are impossible to tell unless they're backwards what number they are. So not a super enjoyable film watching experience, at least aesthetically, when I'm doing ABA games, but loses the ball there. Interesting. Yeah, I have not seen. I mean, I feel like I don't keep up with like the discourse as much these days, but Lottery seems rich for it. Is that Rasir Bolton? Shout out Rasir Bolton. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. I love the random college guys who just pop up in the international film watching. Yeah, Lottery seems a bit rich to me for him, but he's a good player. These like fringy international guys, I feel like often get kind of overrated. Like the hit rate for like second round, non-lottery internationals is just like not that crazy. But Markovic seems interesting. He's just kind of guarding the corner here. Is he similar to Poku? Some flashes, some Poku shades, maybe like normal Poku, because like Poku was so abnormal and just like the way he processed the floor and his skill level. I'm aware Jokic exists. I actually did this analysis like a couple months ago, and he was like one of like 5 starter level guys in the last 10, 15 years to come out of the second round as an international guy. So like, yeah, maybe he's Jokic. Who knows? I also prefer Behringer. I agree, but I think they're similar. There's scouting efficiency. I think watching all offense plus passes. If I was gonna, I mean, obviously, if you can watch full games, you should. But yeah, you definitely should. But I like offense plus passes for sure. And then for watching the defense is harder to do just because like I don't like the defense possessions really for synergy. They just the tracking is not like the tracking and the stat keeping is not particularly good. So for defensive guys, I'll usually watch their stocks, watch their team's defensive rebounds because I think that just gives kind of a good random possession filter where oftentimes the player is involved somehow defensively and like the rebound is super related, and then I'll watch their fouls. That's usually what I'll do. But obviously, if you can watch full games, you should. But obviously, it's not always possible for everyone. Yeah, I think that's probably a good. Yeah, it's obviously much easier to do it for offense than for defense. I think you can get a pretty decent of a player, but like a pretty decent picture of a player's offense by just watching their clips. Like obviously, it's not going to be perfect, but definitely better than defense, which is just hard to do. Yeah, a lot of people like Danny Wolf. I'm not one of them, but he can definitely dribble for his size. Cam Jones is great. I love Cam Jones. I don't know because he's older and he didn't make threes this year, probably, but he's really good. I am a big fan of Cam. I definitely take him in the first round. I love him in like the back half of the first round. This stretch of like teams, it's like Orlando, Phoenix, the Clippers. Like there's a bunch. For sure, yeah, it's pretty. Why can some players like Embiid develop know what he became was a completely different player at Kansas? I will say I think Embiid is kind of an underrated prospect. Like obviously people realize he was great, but I have a YouTube video on prospect Embiid, and he was like really special in ways that I don't think maybe he got credit for at the time. I don't know. I think like athleticism matters, feel for the game matter. Those are two things that Bamba couldn't do. Like he couldn't pass. Embiid was a ridiculously special passer as a prospect. Bamba wasn't a good mover or athlete. Embiid was obviously ridiculous at that. Passed by Markovic in transition. But yeah, I don't think Embiid was this like crazy project that was hard to see coming. The only real thing with him was like the injuries, which is obviously, has had plenty of those throughout his career. Good finish there by Markovic. He's got nice touch. He's obviously not like an above the rim finisher by any means, but he's got nice touch. But yeah, Cam Jones is great. He's also like really funky and hard to compare to. Like there's some prospects where I feel like you can draw pretty reasonable comparisons for. Whereas for Cam, I don't think I've seen a comparison for him that I like or that fits to me. I like that attempt. Maybe kind of telegraphs this little good play by this defender who just like his hands happen to be up because he's communicating to his defenders to rotate, but he ends up doing it himself. I like that read though. Like maybe he could have thrown that like there, right? You probably could have gotten it before his hands went up, but like I like the aggressive. I like the aggression there. Mega Buduknost. I might have watched that game. I'll actually tell you in a second. Yeah, I did watch that game. I watched the Buduknost game from, I believe, that date. But yeah, I watched I think a Zadar game. I watched this Setavita game, the most recent one of those. I can check later. Yeah, Cam is a freaky finisher. I think it's reasonable to have some concerns about Cam's finishing though, because he just cannot jump at all. And he does struggle with length a little bit, but he's so good. Like I trust him to be fine enough. Where did I draw a line at certain tier cutoffs? For me, and by the way, I agree that Buduknost game was extremely impressive. I have it. She did really well in that. By my charting and my notes on that game were pretty glowing of him. So, but yeah, I think Flag is in a tier of his own. I think Harper is in a tier of his own. And then for me, the next tier is Queen, Khan, and Fears. Just 'cause I think those are like Fears and Queen, especially just like real star initiator ceiling. I think Khan has some of that, but just like so fucking good and safe. And then I have like a big group of like 9 to 10 after that, and then the tiers flatten from there. But I just think, yeah, Flag in a tier of his own, Harper in a tier of his own is pretty clear to me when it comes to like those delineations for this class. Is Markovic in the game? No, he's not. That's not Markovic. I wish I had like minute breakdowns. I don't think those are public anywhere for like Adriatic games. My favorite Maxime landing. I don't think he's particularly good. I probably wouldn't draft him until like the mid-second round. I think the Bucks make sense. I like that. I mean, the Warriors could, but they already have Quentin Post. Bucks makes sense. I don't think other teams like run 5 out and have good defenders. Like he could be a nice rotation guy in like Houston, maybe could use their spacing and like they can insulate his defense. So handling is a very hard skill to develop. I think like high level ball handling is pretty much like a you have it or you don't situation. I think pretty much every NBA player can get to the point where they're like a fine enough handler, like they don't trip over themselves or lose the ball when they dribble. And like for some players, like I don't know, like a Jaylen Brown or like an Anthony Edwards, even like you don't need to get to a point where you're an elite handle to be good. But I do think the guys who are like really high level handlers early, like that's something that you can't really. It just requires like a level of like coordination and movement skills and like flexibility and creativity that I just think is really hard to teach. I don't know, exactly how it gets there. Like I don't think you're born with it necessarily. I'm always cautious of like the argument for prospects that's like, oh, they were smart in this thing where like I remember Skylar Mays had like a 4.0 every year in like biology or something, and I'm like, okay, oh yeah, he's gonna figure it out because of that. And like my boy Skylar Mays hasn't, but I would hope I would hope Reno hasn't reached his ceiling. That would be disappointing. I feel like I would hope most of these players haven't reached their ceiling, but yeah. Are teams overthinking the Ace Bailey pick? No, I don't think so. Oso Marquette was yeah, that like that checks out. No, I think Ace is like reasonably being scrutinized. I mean, I can't speak to like the intel stuff. Like, I don't know the guy. Um, but I do know like people have questioned like the legitimacy of his agent, who's Sharif Cooper's dad, who seems to have made like questionable decisions in terms of like where he was playing AAU and like all of that stuff. But I don't know. I think it's reasonable to worry about a guy like that who might never. I said this like early in the year. I think I have a tweet on this where like I think the main swing skill for me for Ace is just going to be like the wiring and the off ball the off ball stuff. Because like he could be such a fucking good like jumbo movement shooter plus defense with a little bit of tough shot making. Yeah, Markovic's change of direction on the ball is a yeesh. But that's nothing surprising. Yeah, I think Ace is like I don't know. I've I've viewed him as like a back end top 10 prospect in this class for like a year and a half now. So I feel like maybe teams are just kind of coming around to the position that myself and a lot of others have held for a long time, which is that Ace is a good prospect by no doubt, but just like not this special guy who, you know, but yeah, definitely the experience from a young age. And like I mean, it's probably gonna. We're already seeing like just more young bigs who can dribble because they do it at younger levels. Um, that's definitely a good point. Um, any 2024 draftees you think had a rough rookie year, should get back on track or break out for a sophomore surge? Good question. I mean, I guess it like depends on what you call like rough. Like Alex Sarr was like an all rookie guy, but he was horribly inefficient and his defensive metrics were poor. Like I was generally impressed with Sarr this year, but like I think you can make a reasonable case that he was like bad. Same with like Collier, who I'm dropping the link. Seems like the the Adriatic League uploads most of their games on YouTube, which is awesome. But yeah, I think Collier Collier like was one of the best rookie passers in quite some time, but was also like horribly inefficient and started the season really poorly. So yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's just a really bad rookie class. Like even a lot of like the best rookies were just like role players. I don't know. I'm very excited, very excited for next year's rookie class because it was a rough year for rookies. Um, Recent or upcoming elite ball handling. Darren Peterson is like one of the best ball handlers I've ever watched. He's like my number one guy in 2026 right now. He is one of the great beautiful bounce pass by Markovic. He is one of the greatest teenage ball handlers I've ever watched. Just like truly truly absurd levels of ball control and speed with the ball and change of direction and creativity. I think Dylan Harper is a ridiculous handling prospect. I think Jeremiah Fears has a ridiculously good handle for this year. Those are the two guys that always immediately come to mind when I think of players this year who are like really like that as ball handlers. Um, Thoughts on Sturts? Love him. Would have taken him in the top 20 this year if he came out. Had it in my top 10 for entering next year, just because I think it's a bit of a weaker class outside of the top 5 or 6. He's so good. Just like the pick and roll feel, the rim pressure, the shooting, I think will be good enough. Like he's just an awesome player. I love Bennett Sturts. Um, Boogie has a great handle. Yeah, he's also not in this draft. So, and he just like probably is too limited elsewhere, unfortunately. But I do agree that Boogie has a ridiculous handle. Um, do I have any hope for Andre Jackson? A little bit, maybe. I just probably not. Like his offense, I think is just too limited. I liked him as a prospect. He just like hasn't gotten much better. Obviously, I think being in Milwaukee isn't like good for him. I don't think that's good for like any young player really to be on a Doc Rivers Milwaukee Bucks team. Like it's he hasn't had like a good shake for sure. But no, I don't think he seems like a guy who like maybe a smart team could get him on a second contract for Andre. But yeah, it's if he succeeds, it's not going to be in Milwaukee. I feel pretty confident. Penda, the next Andre Jackson. Penda is like universes better as an offensive player. I still have concerns with Penda. Yeah, AJ Green is awesome. I love AJ Green. I've been a fan of his for a long time. Penda is like a different universe offensively for Andre Jackson. Like Jackson is truly one of the worst offensive players in quite some time, unfortunately, in terms of just scoring and gravity. And Penda is like has his issues, but I don't think is nearly that bad. Yeah, I'm kind of fading every young Bucks player these days, unfortunately. It's unfortunately tough. I'm happy my guy AJ Johnson got out though. I was a fan of his relative to some people though. I certainly wouldn't have advocated picking him in the first round. Um trade if those are the two options, I would certainly have the Wizards take Fears. I wouldn't trade up. I think trading up for Ace would be a disaster, to be perfectly honest. Another example of Markovic, like, seems like he knows where to be. Usually, it's like he's reaching in, he's slow to recover. It's like his instincts seem to be all right, though, in terms of just like positioning. He's just slow, unfortunately, which is just not, you know, the greatest thing in the world. I don't know about the. I mean, I don't really subscribe to the 5 position thing, so but it's definitely hard for point guards. I think that's everyone knows that, and I think it's easiest for wings generally. Good shot by Markovic. Why could Luke Kennard never reach his potential? I feel like you can make a pretty solid argument that he did reach his potential. He was a very good NBA role player for a long time. Um, he was he was like the 12th pick in the draft, and he's been like a rock solid offensive role player for almost a decade. Like I feel like that's a pretty damn good outcome, honestly. I don't remember a ton of prospect Kennard, but I feel like that's a great outcome for like most 12th overall picks. And Kennard's offense at his peak is really fucking good. Like maybe a little past that now, but he's had some incredibly good offensive seasons. D2 NAIA JUCO. I mean, it's happening more. Like Wells is obviously the big example. The other big example right now is Elijah Freeman. He was a freshman at a D2 in like Florida or something this year. He's transferring to Auburn. He's going to be Auburn next year, and he's an NBA talent. Like, no doubt. No doubt about it. NBA talent, I would say. But yeah, those are the only ones that come to mind. I'm sure there's like an inefficiency, right? Where with like D2, JUCO, NAIA scouting, like obviously there's going to be very few like pro prospects there, but there are some like players do come out of that. But yeah, Ellie Freeman, like a 6'7" ish wing, I think, going to Auburn, just a ridiculously talented player. I think I tweeted some clips of him just cooking D2, and he's a beast. Markovic. Been a pretty quiet game for Mr. Markovic in this one. Defense has been pretty rough. Offense has been nice. I mean, that's just like a lot of Markovic games. That's a weak call. That's a weak call. I don't like that. That sucks. And they're taking him out now too. I don't like that. That's a bad call. Shooting is hard to project. If shooting was easy to project, then teams would be a lot better at drafting. But it's just not, because 3-point it's especially for for freshmen who are one and done. It's like it's very, very difficult to actually project one and done shooting. Nice little kick out. Like, yeah, I think Markovic projects as a pretty nice, like, complementary piece on offense, just like a play finisher, off ball mover, connector type. But yeah, certainly don't see the maybe if Markovic is just like a really, really elite shooter, which I guess is possible, but he's doing a lot of gambling on defense. Like, I don't know if this is the scheme or if he's just freelancing here, but I've talked about this for like a couple years now, how I don't really view free throw percentage as that strong of an indicator for shooting progression. I think it's a very overrated talking point. Like, there's some correlation, and I think the most correlation comes when people are like super elite free throw shooters or super awful free throw shooters. Like, you're not going to find many guys who shoot under like 55% become good shooters, and you're not going to find a lot of guys who shoot under like 87% be, over like 87 be bad shooters. But everywhere in that middle range, which is like where most players sit, I don't think free throw percentage is a particularly powerful indicator. Like, you can find so many prospects of like elite shooters. Like Joe Harris was not a good free throw shooter. You talk about Anthony Edwards. He was like 69% at the line his 1 year at Georgia. KCP was a bad free throw shooter in college. Like, there's so many examples of guys who he's hitting that. Yeah, just great read. I love Markovic on the short roll. Like, just perfectly flowing through, like, sees this defender selling out hard for the baseline, just goes through his progressions, gets his guy a wide open shot. Like, really, really nice, smooth short roll processor. He's a mental weakling. Hi, Lucas. How crucial is Turner to the Pacers' success? This version of Turner, I would say, is kind of detrimental, unfortunately. Oh, sick. Yeah. Everyone, after I'm done with this, go watch Lucas and Ahmed's thing on a playback. What you guys are talking about, Khan and Malawash, right? Two very fun prospects. So, but yeah, I think free throw shooting is like definitely a piece of the puzzle, but I don't think a particularly like valuable or predictive one. Like, I think like just raw volume, shot versatility, and like long 2-point shooting, or good shot. He's hitting his open shots. Like, long 2-point shooting are generally more powerful shooting indicators. What do I think of Zik? Behringer. I mean, I think it would be high, maybe a little higher, but not that much higher. Like I just think he's so limited offensively, and but yeah, if he, I mean, he's if he was 7'2" or whatever with a 9'6" standing reach, I'd feel better about him. Um, I'm 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 like ever so slightly skeptical of the Behringer measurements. Like he looks big on tape, but I'm just like a little skeptical of the 6'11" without shoes. Like I don't know. I'm not sure that passes my smell test, but maybe he is. I just don't think he plays that big. Jake, 42% high volume three. Yeah, look, I mean, some guys are just like bad. Some guys are just like bad free. I don't know. Take I don't know, me for example. I am an incredibly good free throw shooter. Um, but I am not a consistent 3-point shooter and never have been. And it's like, different. It's different mentally. It's different physically. It's like a different process. But what are the, Rocco Victor Locken, I don't really think of as an NBA player. Rocco, I still do have hope for just because he's like really freaking young and I still think has a lot of defensive potential, but he was rough this year for sure. But I love Vlad Golden. Golden is one of my favorite sleepers in this class. Like he's just a good fucking player. Like really awesome, versatile defender, can dribble a little bit, great finisher, great rebounder. Can pass a little bit. I really like Golden. I think Golden is going to be um, Golden is probably up there for best screener in the class. I'd say that's probably reasonable. I have to think about it, but he's certainly up there. He sets really good screens. Yang sets good screens. Dash is really good. It's been about a year or so since I've watched Dash, so I'm not like so up. I'm not so current on how he's progressing, but I always thought he was as a 16-year-old or whenever the last time I watched him, he was a better offensive player than his brother at the same stage. I think he's a little smaller, which definitely matters. But he seems really good. Like I said, I haven't watched Dash in about a year, so my like takes aren't super current. After this cycle, after the finals, after the draft, I'll dive more deeply into 2026 guys again. Um, but Dash is good from everything I know. He seems like a very interesting player, but I'm not like crazy. Yeah, Yang tested well. I still think of him as a very poor athlete on tape, but I mean, if you're someone who values the combine testing, and some people certainly value the combine testing, then that might give you some confidence in his ability to develop. But I am very concerned about his ability to like hang on an NBA floor on defense. But his offense is good. I'm just not super high on him. I'm not super high on him, but I think we talked about this like a little bit ago. I don't weigh any quote unquote off court intelligence when it comes to basketball. It's just such a different thing. Like I don't think it's really like the ability to like perform well in school and the ability to be an intelligent basketball player. I think are just like so different in terms of how they manifest and the different like mental skills you need. Like yeah, like I don't think yeah no I don't think there is any real correlation. I mean, I'd be curious if there was any like academic research on this topic. Maybe there is. If there is, I'm unaware of it, but it would be cool to see um, if there's any like correlation or any causal relationships people can find between those things. But from my experience, I don't think I'd trust that at all. Um, For Yegor, it's just gonna be if he can like actually be a shooter despite looking the part. Like, I think that's for sure the swing skill. I disagree. I think Yakuchonis is fine beating defenders off the dribble. I feel like very confident in that projection. He's already an effective driver who gets to the rim a lot, is efficient, and draws a lot of fouls. And he has a horrible handle and is not strong or balanced. So if this is the baseline, like I think people are going to be surprised in 2 years by how good of like a downhill player Yakuchonis is. I think people are going to be quite surprised. Yeah, I know there's like I know a lot of like statsy based evaluators are really high on him. That's obviously not how I do it, but yeah, I think just like the statistical translation from any pro league. There are two prospects are terrible shooters. One grew up rich, one grew up poor. Would that influence you? Probably not. I mean, again, just like not enough information to really glean anything. Um, you can maybe argue that the player like who didn't grow up rich has more potential for growth because they didn't have like the kind of training and resources like an NBA kid did. I think you can possibly argue for that, but I don't have nearly enough confidence in that hypothesis to actually value it. Like I don't. Yeah, no, I don't. I don't. I I'm also curious about the wrist injury or whatever Kasparis had midseason because it seemed like a pretty stark correlation between that and his drop off. So I'm curious about that as well. If that was actually anything or if it was just coincidence. I often give this up. I think I gave them Kalkbrenner in the mock I did this in my final mock for Sports Kita, which I would love. But yeah, I mock the Celtics at 28 or 32 pretty much all the time. I honestly weight pre NBA 3-point shooting percentage like almost to zero, to be perfectly honest. Especially for a guy like Yakuchonis who takes a lot of tough shots off the ball. I have worries about his shooting projection, but that's because he's just like not a comfortable quick catch and shoot player, not because he doesn't make threes at this point. Like I don't. That's just not something that matters at all to me. But I do have reasonable. Is Jace the next Hallie McConnell? That would be pretty remarkable considering I don't consider Jace a good passer. So it would be kind of remarkable for him to get to that level. I think of Jace as more in like the Pritchard quickly type role, just like short offensive spark plugs, scoring guards who are like really efficient and can, do a little off the bounce or good off ball players. But Jace is not a good passer, I don't think. Which like pretty strongly disqualifying. If someone can't shoot pre-college and then suddenly lights out, is that not weird? That's your Reed Shepherd corollary right there. A guy who was just like an average 3-point shooter in high school and then shot 50+% from three in college and then gets drafted in the top 3 because of it. Like that's like that happens. And I think how to weigh that is important. But I just think again, like the non I think like what you're saying is like why I don't value 3-point percentage just because it's such a volatile sample and it's hard to, treat and like high school 3-point percentage is just hard to rely on because people's like bodies are developing so much and their mechanics are developing so much at that stage. Whereas like, they're obviously more developed by the time you're 19 or 20, but still it's like what if you get one season of college shooting. I'd like to go rewatch Jalen Wells' college tape because I remember it just being very average. But he was awesome this year. He also just landed in like a perfect situation. That like tailor made that like pretty much like they were kind of tailored to his skills in a lot of ways, especially defensively. Um, but but yeah, no, I'd like to go back and rewatch Jalen Wells because I am curious if there's something that I badly missed, or if it's just like sometimes guys land in good spots, teams can extract something out of them that their previous teams couldn't. Um, because oftentimes I feel like there are not lessons to be learned when people ascribe them. It's like, oh, sometimes shit just happens. Like, and yeah, maybe sometimes there's like broad takeaways, but I think a lot of times just like, stuff happens. Good drive, but even though Markovic is not strong at all, I like his willingness to like draw contact here, get lower than his defender, shove him a bit. Like, I, I like that quite a bit. He's a good offensive player. But yeah, this has been a mediocre Markovic game to this point. I've seen him play better, and I've also seen him play worse. But good defense on the deep catch. Like again, I just like his physicality, like his like this big's pushing him. Markovic will push back, like get back in front, try to wall up, and like he's definitely got a little size. So I think there's some. I'd be cool with Markovic in the 20s. I think I actually might have given them Markovic with their first, second round pick in the mock I recently did. But I'd be cool with him as a late first round pick. That's probably a little rich for me, but I'd be cool with it. What NBA equivalent physical tools that is typically rated undrafted? Physical tools is typically rated undrafted. Oh, easy. Curtis Jones, Iowa State. Did I see the guy who said, "Yes, I saw the Marović salon thing," and I think that the person who tweeted that, I would never take any of their opinions on anything seriously. Um, Curtis Jones is my biggest like non-consensus top 60 guy who I think is going to be good, like 6'2" ish, but has like a 6'7", 6'8" wingspan, ridiculous touch, awesome shooter, can pass a little bit. Like I could easily see, yeah, I could easily see Curtis Jones finding a home in a rotation. So yeah, he's the one guy who I'm like always very confused why he's not in any consensus top 60s. He's just really good. Um, I like I like this is like more popular, but like Javon Small is gonna get drafted, I think, but he's gonna get drafted way too late. Um, I'll shout out my guy Caleb Grill, who is probably nothing because he's 25, but he's a legitimate dynamic off-ball shooter who's like a high jump track athlete and can defend a little bit, but he's super old. But yeah, I definitely go with Curtis Jones as my favorite. Sleepy, under discussed guy. I think he's gonna be good if he gets a shot. But yeah, it's obviously such like a crazy, or I think until there are any like major rule changes or developments with like NIL and eligibility, it's going to be like this every year now, where like the back end of the second round is just we love our old kings. Where like the back end of the second round, I saw I don't remember who it was, but I saw I saw what was I gonna say? I saw some board that from some person who I didn't recognize who had Caleb Grill in the top 10. And I'm like, you are a genius, brother. I need you to keep cooking and I need you to not let the haters dissuade you. I need you to keep preaching the truth um, and keep putting the good word out there. So I support that. I deeply support the Caleb Grill propaganda machine. But yeah, he's another one who's probably not going to get drafted. I could see like being a regular season minute filler, possibly like a Garrison Matthews type. Even though I think Matthews wasn't even that old when he came out, um, like a Blake Hinson type. Maybe they're different players, but just like another one of these like dynamic shooters who don't do a ton of. Even though Hinson was like a horrific athlete, and Grill is an amazing athlete, so that could maybe be a good point for them. Easily Neesmith to me. I'm not a huge Hunter guy. I mean, he's good, but I think Neesmith is just like a level above defensively and is a similar quality on Gary Bird, absolutely. Um, Relative to size. Yeah, I think so, Joshua. I feel like Cooper's passing might I'd say it's a little worse than like a men's who is obviously so special in his own right. Like it's worse than Cade's, but he's a little bigger than Cade. Like it's worse than Lamelo's, but he's bigger than Lamelo. In terms of like the wings, like the guys who are like true wings, wing slash forwards, like Cooper, I feel like he's one of the better passers of his size to come out in quite some time. Like he's a ridiculously good passer. Um, like I think he's a better passer than like Franz and Scotty were. Um, see what Markovic got for this double team. I see what he was trying to do here. I don't like that he dribbled himself into like the baseline, but he definitely got vision. I will say that. Like he has the vision to just like try stuff. Um, would Amen and Jokic be a good deal? I would pay American US dollars. I would pay US dollars to watch that. Yeah, Cooper's so special. He's pretty solid, James. Probably going to get drafted in like the early second round. Fake three into an interior pass. He got his humor. He's a skilled player. He's very crafty. Oh yeah, NIL. What was it? I saw people were complaining about like the Arkansas signed some guy who was like a bench player in like the U20 like B division or something. I don't remember exactly what the details were, but I saw people complaining about like a signing they made, and yeah, it's honestly crazy how much they're dipping into how much they're dipping into Do I have Golden over Wolf? No. I wish I was. I wish I had the balls to do that though. I no. I think Wolf being like 3, 4 years younger and having like the offensive skill. I have them in the same tier though. I will say that. I don't think I have them within the same tier, but no, I don't have the stones to put Golden over Wolf. But maybe I should honestly. Maybe I should just stick to my guns. But no, I don't. Even though I think like Golden was a clearly better player this year at Michigan, but also that doesn't really mean that much in terms of pick any prospect the past 10 years to be your dream Jokic pairing. Past 10 years. question. I mean, like, I feel like it's cheating to say. I feel like it's cheating to say Lucas to say Luca. Like that doesn't feel fair. I feel like all of like the really good, like my first thoughts are just like Luca and Zion and Cade and LaMelo. Um, yes, Lucas Doncic. Thanks, James. Appreciate it. Yeah, Lucas D. But yeah, I mean, like Luca and Jokic would be the coolest thing ever. His on-ball defense is going to need significant work yeah, I mean that's just like my biggest worry with Markovic is just like if he's ever physical or athletic, if he's ever strong or athletic enough to really play defense in the NBA. I feel like more likely than not, probably no, but you never know. Players do make plenty of awesome jumps on on defense throughout the year. Asa Newell versus Markovic. Newell, but I think it's closer than most people would think it is. Same tier, though, for Newell and Markovic. Like very different players. To me, it's kind of like pick your flavor. It's like if you want like the offensively slanted guy, I would take Markovic, but if I wanted to draft someone more defensively slanted, I'd probably take Newell. But yeah, thanks everyone for popping out. Again, live draft stream coming next week. During the drafts, day one, European teams are addicted to hedging. It's a really good coverage if you have guys, if you're playing against guys who can't dribble. Like hedging is really, really good at that. Anyways, thanks everyone for popping out. Like, comment, subscribes on the videos stream. Always super helpful for me. And have a nice day. Thanks, everyone.